And so I look at the left and I say, well, they think like women. But what the behavior, in my opinion, feels like is like a teenager with daddy issues that's just rebelling for the sake of rebelling.
You know, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who's black, and he's not a Republican. He's not a Democrat. He hates all politicians, as I think most people do. And he said to me something he's so interesting. And I was like, you know what? And he's not someone who's particularly well educated. You know, after high school, he went to go work, you know, various different jobs, but a good friend of mine. And he said to me, he goes, you know, Barack Obama did more for the gay community and the LGBT community than he did for the black community. And I said, you know, you're absolutely right. And for you to realize that, as someone who's, you know, not politically educated, someone who's not a Democrat, someone who's not I mean, probably leans more Democrat than Republican. He lives in Detroit. I said, you know, I wish more people would have realized that, because he did. And I guess he was catering to his dark side, you know, his side that he's never really let out to the people, you know, other than the ones closest to him. But, you know, I think it makes all the sense of why he did. He was tailoring towards.
No, I know. I'll tell you exactly why that happened, John. You put a black president in the Oval Office, and all of a sudden America's not racist anymore. Yeah. And if you can't accuse people of being racist, you can't use it to hustle. Right. And so what was the hustle? You know, let's not forget that Glee, for instance, was the #1 show when Barack Obama entered the White House. The hustle was the Rainbow Mafia. And it's like, okay, I'm going to hitch my wagon to that. And it's a movement, and it was a movement. It went like everywhere, you know, people went nuts for this stuff. Now, most Americans were pretty pissed about it, but they were way more accepting because we hadn't been through the Biden administration. We hadn't had COVID shoved down our throats. We hadn't had a massive increase in inflation. We haven't had an extra 10 years of wage stagnation and this flooding of our country with all of these illegal invaders. And so it's like, okay, here we are. And now there's blowback. Like, obviously, America's moving the other direction on this stuff. But
I don't know if you saw yesterday. You obviously know who Megyn Kelly is. Don Lemon came out, washed up CNN anchor, who happens to be part of the LGBT community, so he gets away with whatever he wants with no repercussions. He comes out and he said that Megyn Kelly, who I think is very pretty for an older woman, I don't mean older woman, but a woman, you know, in her 50s, comes out and says she looks like she's a transgender. And I'm sitting there like, how does this guy sit and judge anybody? This is the same guy who was sued for allegedly grabbing a bartender's hands and putting him down his pants and then making him smell his hands. And then the lawsuit was dropped after the bartender.
What are you doing to me, John?
Got a record. No, this is a true story in the Hamptons.
Yeah.
After the bartender got his memory back and said, oh, it didn't happen. I wonder, you know, what sort of money was paid to it. But this is a man we're going to take social cues from. Really?
No, it's all performative. They don't believe this stuff at all. You know, like an example, I was really going down the rabbit hole with all of the horrible crime statistics going on in England, because it's been in the news because Elon Musk is saying there was a brutal stabbing of a guy that was killed in the middle of England by one of these, you know, Pakistani refugees or whatever, Afghanistan. And they're all upset over there. It's like, well, guys, like how bad did you let it get? Well, it's like, according to Grok, 50% of all women in London have been sexually assaulted, and 1 in 5 of them have been raped.
Wow.
And so it's like the leftists did that, and they are the party of feminism. And so feminism means, like, you know, like our women get raped. That's what feminism stands for. And so it was all performative. There's these ulterior motives to flood the nation with the third world. And I don't know how they extricate themselves from that. There are 2.1 million English men, according to Grok, living in a family where a woman has been raped.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's weird. Like,
that's some serious numbers.
Yeah.
You know, the Democrats, there's no doubt, I mean, want this country to turn into what England has turned into with their massive Muslim community now. But just the whole Marxist ideology, I thought to myself, the people who consider themselves mainstream Democrats still, who are, you know, I have to assume there's probably still some of them, the ones who probably voted for Trump in this last election. But I was saying to myself yesterday, I was driving thinking about it. Did people really think, Mark, it was going to end with the men and women's sports? Did they really think like that was the end goal? Like, oh, you know, let's try to test the gay limit here and let's let men play in women's sports. did people really think it was going to stop there? Were they really that naive to believe that the Democratic Party was going to end there and not try to push the limit, which I mean, we're at the limit right now of where we're at with drugs and with the illegals in this country and the LGBTQ XYZ. I mean, all of it.
Yeah.
They pushed it to the limit. Did people really think like that was where the Democrats were going to stop when they decided to let men play with women and let men go in women's bathrooms?
I have a theory because I think about this a lot every day. And obviously, some of them are absolute rabid leftists and really believe this thing. I don't think it's that much of the Democrats. And then there's a bunch of Democrats that actually have somewhat conservative viewpoints, but because of Trump hate or because of brainwashing or because of social pressures or because the Yankees Mets effect, they just vote Democrat. That's what they've been trained to do. That's what they're going to do. And they don't really think particularly hard about it. But then you have this whole other nebulous blob of people, and you're like, well, do they really believe this stuff or not? And I don't want to piss off any women, but I feel like there's this aspect of logic that's been feminized over the last, decade, 2 decades. And when I say that, I don't mean it as a pejorative. I mean that women think differently. It's more emotional. It's more consensus driven. It's more about validation. It's more about being seen, fitting in. And like biologically, it makes a lot of sense because men are more capable of dealing with the environment and having to understand reality and make decisions and put themselves at risk. Risk-taking behavior is off the charts, very different. And what does that create? Well, it creates, depending on the age bracket, like a 20 to 30 point difference in politics between the genders. And it's really biggest in like the 30 to 39-year-old bracket. They're like 35 points apart on this. And so it's a really, really big thing. And so I look at the left and I say, well, they think like women and even the men, even a lot of the men. And I'm, again, not pejorative, but what the behavior, in my opinion, feels like is like a teenager with daddy issues that's just rebelling for the sake of rebelling. And I think that counts for all this stuff. Mamdani, they don't really want, I don't think they really truly want their Gristades to get taken over by the state. I think they just know this guy it pisses off the right. And it's a temper tantrum. I think that's really what's happening. They don't want to lose. They're mad at Donald Trump, and they're trying to piss off the right.
I think you and I spoke about this on our drive down to DC, and you actually put out a tweet on it at the time, exactly what you just said, and it's pretty interesting. There was an article I read, and this is from research. This is not my words. I think I've told you about this before. There was a study done on women fighter pilots and men fighter pilots, and they put them in a simulation, and they gave them the yoke to shoot rockets. And they were told, you got to blow this up. It may or may not be this. Use your best decision. And women, but before I start reading this, I'm like, oh, this makes sense. Women are going to be the ones to push the trigger right away. They're going to blow up whatever they're going to blow up because anyone who's had a girlfriend or a wife knows that when you get into a fight with a woman, you never win. And Lou Dobbs,
scorched earth. Yeah,
not fight with a woman, you will never win. But it was actually quite the opposite. They were having a problem with the women not being able to pull the trigger with indecisiveness. And I'm like, that's an interesting theory. And I went on to read this. I've got to find it because it was a really good study that they did. But I think we're at a really crazy point. But I think people are starting to open up their eyes. I know so many people. I know so many women, so many minorities that I'm friends with who didn't care about politics before this past election. But when you had Joe Biden come out there and tell black people that they weren't black unless they voted for him, nobody wants to be told what to do. And the black community certainly doesn't want to be told, you have to do this because I told you to do this. I mean, F you is what they told Joe Biden, which is why you saw the numbers shift. I mean, you're the pollster here. You can tell us what the black voter was and what the Hispanic voter was because of what you said, that there was always this connotation that you had to vote with the left because they were the party of no racism. They were the party that took care of minorities, where it's clearly quite the opposite because you look at what Donald Trump has done for the uneducated black and what he's done for the educated black. HBCUs funded. I mean, just go look at the track record of what it is. So you had Joe Biden come out there and say, man, if you're not black if you don't vote for me. They're like, F you. Who the hell do you think you are talking to us like that? We're not some object. Right. We're human beings.
We track this a lot. And I think the biggest bump that Donald Trump approval got among black voters, I think where it really started to change was when they indicted him, which was kind of blowback. And, the problem with the industry is that it relies so much on exit polling, and exit polling is just more polling, and it's done by mainstream media pollsters. And so I think they understate the level of actual Trump support among black voters. But this entire cycle, I've had him between 30 and 45 roughly percent. There was a couple times where he got to 50% job approval rating among black voters. It's 32% today. And this is like 2 days away from SNAP benefits being potentially removed. And 1 in 4 black women in the country are on SNAP benefits. And, like that's down quite a bit. And he's roughly at parity with Hispanic voters. Hispanic voters are his best people. And the Democrats just a year ago would have said, well, we're flooding the country with illegal immigrants because the Hispanic voters want that. No, they don't. Like they absolutely do not. And they wouldn't even look at the freaking polling. I've known that for years that they're mad at the illegals. And, so.
I mean, the illegals are the biggest threat to the African American and to the Spanish communities. So they've opened up their eyes to realize that this is, and I'm so happy. I think it was a great moment for America when people opened up their eyes to say that these people are playing us like fiddles. These people they don't give a damn about us. They can't stand us. They hate us. It is what it is. We got an interesting question. I'm going to let you answer this one, and then I'll answer because I think this is geared towards you. From Johan UFC. The real question plaguing Britain is not left versus right. It's instead, are you pro-Britain or pro-Israel?
Well, I'm surprised that they have that issue as well. I wasn't aware about how, much it is kicking off over there. But on this side, it's very clear that what the people who support Israel don't understand is that Pandora's box has already been opened. You're not going to be able to close it again. The Republican Party is not the party of complete 100% unquestioning pro-Zionism. It's just not anymore. It's about 50-50, to be honest with you. But then the tactics of like, okay, well, we're going to blow the whole movement up to try and cancel Tucker Carlson. It's not going to work. That's leftist tactics. And so what the right has to figure out how to do is come to a scenario where it maintains its big tent and yet can have this open dialogue. And unfortunately, it's people who are Zionists here that are unwilling to accept that reality. And I'm sorry, I'm not taking a stance on Israel. I'm just telling you, you're doing more damage. It's a fake purity test. Just like when DeSantis supporters wanted to use abortion as a wedge issue to undermine Donald Trump, you're doing the same freaking thing. And I think JD Vance last night gave a pretty nuanced answer about this. And it's like, okay, America first. That's it. America first. And so Britain needs a little bit of Britain first, I think. And I don't know how much it's taken off over there, but they need more of it.
Yeah, they're having a little bit of an issue over there, especially in London, which I think they're past the breaking point. I think they've already broken. I say the same thing when people ask me, are you Ukraine or Russia? Are you I'm America. That's it. I want America to win on every single front. That's all I care about. And it may sound selfish of me to say, but when I've lived, Mark, for 30 plus years of my life, when I've seen every other person be before America, every other person put before America, I've really reached the breaking point myself where I just care about America. I want America to prosper in every single way. I want America to be the best. I want America to be the better than every single person in the world. Is that selfish for me to say? I don't think so. And if it is, then you be offended by it. But I think that's the mentality that every American should be. I mean, it's not saying don't love your neighbors from other countries, but you should want to be the best just for yourself, for your country, and who you represent. We're the greatest country in the world.
Yeah, and we're a country that needs some torches and pitchforks right now, and proverbially speaking, because I'm just saying it's like the modern progressive era of American geopolitics is that literally everything in the world is a welfare queen off of the backs of the American middle-class taxpayer. And in that time period, the taxpayer is 5 times less capable of paying off their share of government debt due to wage stagnation. So we've literally been sucked dry by every single freaking country, entity, company on everything. Banking losses have been socialized. We're supporting the entire Indian technology sector, literally everything. They've taken our Fortune 500 companies. What happens if we ever go to war with India? They will walk away with Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, every single one of these companies.